Hi, it's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. So, fireworks, should we be using them? Here it is. I'm filming this just before the 4th of July, and probably the biggest fireworks day in the country, other than maybe the New Year's Eve. Um, but the question in my mind is this whole history of fireworks and getting them into the hands of the public and how and whether they should be used. Fireworks have a long history in this country. In the writings of John Adams, when the American Revolution was successful and the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, his position in his book was that we should have fireworks and clanging bells and explosions in the sky forever, commemorating this momentous event of our independence from England in 1776. So fireworks were really popular, well used, and available back then, just as they are today. And I think really when we think of fireworks, there's two different things involved. We have the public displays of fireworks. I love to watch like the Capitol 4th. I used to love to watch the Boston Pops and the fireworks displays they had there. I used to, here in where I am in Clearwater, they've always had magnificent fireworks displays. All the major towns had them, and it's fantastic. The issue really comes down from a public safety standpoint is when they get into the hands of us, the private citizen. For years, when my kids were little, they wanted fireworks, and all these places were popping up along the street and selling fireworks. When you went in there, you had to sign some form that you were chasing away birds, or you used them in railroad demolition, or you were on a farm or something. And it always bothered me as a parent to walk in and say, I'm going to show to my kids, I want you to have fireworks. I'm going to fill out this form telling an untruth, and it was kind of a perplexing dilemma, what kind of example I was setting. But, obviously I did it. The problem is that those of us who go get fireworks, and I don't do it any longer. I did when my kids were little. I wouldn't do it today. Back then, they were illegal. And now, as of April of this year, 2020, they are legal. Governor DeSantis signed a bill making fireworks legal in Florida on 3 days of the year: July 4th, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. Those are the only 3 days of the year they are legal. I think it's kind of a mistake to do that personally, because fireworks are dangerous. And the reality is, when you get fireworks in the hands of inexperienced people, accompanied by a desire for kids to be with them, handle them, be close to them, to watch them, and you throw in a little alcohol along the way, you've got a real potential for disaster to happen. And I understand a lot of people use fireworks safely every year, but when things go wrong, they really go wrong. I think one of the most common issues with fireworks is, you think about these things, they're made typically, I think, in China, as far as I know. They're not exactly made to exacting standards. They're inexpensive, but yet they're very powerful, and they burn and produce an intense amount of heat. That like a child sparkler burns at almost 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's incredible the amount of heat that those things have. And when they come in contact with the human tissue, they do incredible damage. Kids are so unpredictable. They have these wire-coated sticks, and they're flashing them around. It just used to drive me crazy, being concerned about the kids, and hurting one another. But the fact that these things are so prevalent doesn't necessarily mean that we should be. The Bucks have a football player who lost part of his hand in a fireworks accident several years ago and almost ended his career. If you go through and just Google famous people who've been injured by fireworks, there's quite a list of people that in sports particularly that you would know that were handling fireworks and got horribly injured. These injuries usually occur either with a blast injury or a burn injury. And what happens so many times, we've all had the experience. When I was a kid, we used to get cherry bombs and M80s, and I used to build model airplanes and put fireworks in and blow them to smithereens. I don't know how I got hold of those things, and I don't know how we got through without getting hurt. Thankfully, those kinds of explosives aren't available these days, apparently. But these things in the hands of an inexperienced person, like how many times have you been around in fireworks in a private setting when you light it and it doesn't go off? It's a dud, right? So what do? You try to light it again, right? Now the fuse is really, really short, and you're down there trying to light it, and boom, you light it and it explodes immediately, and the person lighting it is real close to the fireworks. The other thing that happens is that just the unexpected occurs. Many of these, like these bottle rockets, they're on a stick and they're supposed to go up in the sky. Sometimes they don't go up in the sky. Sometimes they fall off and go laterally on the ground. I wrote recently about a case we had several years ago, a beautiful young girl sitting in her own driveway in her garage watching the neighbors shoot off fireworks. A bottle type rocket was supposed to go up in the air. It went sideways and landed in the lap of this little girl. I mean, it was incredible, the damage that was done to her arm, her abdomen, down in her thigh area, and the interior of her legs. It was just incredible. And how the burn injuries that can occur from that thing, it's just unbelievable what happens in a few seconds when one of these things comes in contact with our skin. So, they're unpredictable and people are inexperienced and they're just dangerous to be around. I guess you're getting the drift that I'm not a real big advocate of fireworks. My position is they just shouldn't be in private hands, I don't think. A lot of times, people are down there trying to light a firework with a match. The match gets too close. They're not using an igniter. They're giving them at least another 8 or 10 inches between them and the explosive. There's just so many things that can go wrong. You have the accidents, and then you have just the weirdness of life and things going inexplicably wrong. That's usually what happens when someone gets horribly injured. It's totally unexpected, unanticipated. But people get really their lives changed and they have disfiguring, horrible injuries. And I get it, I've got kids and grandkids and they want to see them. They want to be around them. They want to be close to them. And they want to handle what they can handle. I kind of get it. It's sort of like the attractiveness of all this. But, when you have the chance to avoid being around those things, in my view, that's what you should do. These are legal, but they're not safe. What happens, though, when the unexpected occurs? If you, as a homeowner or a renter, are handling the fireworks and something goes wrong, you're on the hook, potentially. Okay, the facts in every case are going to be different, but you initiate it, it's your fireworks, and you're setting it off, or it's being done in your yard on your property. You have the potential liability for when the unexpected goes wrong. Somebody else may be there actually handling it that day. That means they may be responsible as well. So there's a two-edged sword. If you're the person buying and displaying and discharging the fireworks on your property, you could be responsible when the unexpected happens and someone gets injured. But if you are an innocent bystander or can get injured because of the fireworks, then the person responsible may be your neighbor, your friend, your family member whose home you're visiting. So remember, when someone gets horribly injured in any type of accident and they walk into a lawyer's office, they're looking for someone that can pay the compensation for someone for this unexpected but preventable injury that just happened. So it's like, here I am, the Grinch of the 4th of July, saying, this is a momentous event. It's a wonderful celebration of our country. Fireworks have a historical perspective that we all enjoy. At the same time, I'm saying I wouldn't use these things. And kind of that's my perspective. I do hope that you have a wonderful 4th of July. I hope that if you're around fireworks, that you are safe about it. I don't want anyone to get injured. And I just keep my thoughts in mind as you go forward for the weekend. And just do the things. Always expect the unexpected and try to account for the unexpected. All right? And do your best out there to be safe. I'm Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. If you're injured on or off the bike anywhere in Florida, you need me, I'll be there for you, regardless of where you are in the state. Okay? Have a happy 4th. Take care. Bye.